Hello and welcome in, everyone. Man, I should listen to that intro before work. I'm always this time of night on Monday Night Football's coming in, and I'm sick. I think you said you're sick. I'm ready to take a nap, and the intro jolts us in here on the IDP Underground on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I am your host, as always, Aaron St Denis. Follow me everywhere at FF Mad Scientist. That is Matt Montgomery at Matt Monty FF. That way. Yeah. You know, it's going to be a good day when I point the right way the first time. Yeah.
What is up, my man? I know you were talking about how both of us are feeling a little bit under the weather, but we are about to bring you Jordan flu game energy in a very slow week in IDP. So not only are we fighting the elements here, but we're fighting non-traditional headlines. So it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a different show, but I'm as amped up as you are after hearing that intro.
He's selling some bullshit today, talking about Jordan flu game. We're both sick. We were talking about this before the show. I'm like, I think we're gonna have a short show today. I'm like, IDP wise, anyways, it's a pretty boring week. There wasn't a whole lot of notable things going on. Hopefully, we'll get some questions in the chat here that may help us, filibuster a bit. I guess before we get into your thread, is there anything you want to discuss? Anything that isn't covered in one of the threads? Do you have Max Crosby in there? Or?
Max Crosby, that one just blows. I mean, when you lose one of the best players in the game, I mean, it feels like every single week now throughout the season we have lost a major player in IDP. That's just what makes this game so fun to me. I mean, obviously we don't want anybody to be injured, but what makes it fun to me is that you just never know. It's never complete. You have to constantly pay attention to this, finagle your lineups, move people in and out. That's the strategy part of this game. Anybody can win a game with a good draft, but you're not going to win a season because the chances of you drafting everybody that doesn't get hurt and is performing at peak level, it just doesn't happen. So we're starting to get into the weeks where we're going to see these injuries pile up. It's getting colder. We were just talking about that. Out here in the Midwest, it feels like fall just snuck up on us immediately. And once you start getting cold, some of these older players, we're going to start seeing this stuff add up. So it sucks. I hate seeing Max Crosby go down. He's one of my favorite players. I got a jersey of him. You just hate to see it, but I love the game, and I just love the unpredictability of it all.
Where are you at? You said Midwest.
Yeah, I'm in Indy. So Indianapolis, we got hit with a major storm. That storm that hit Cleveland and for the Dolphins and Cleveland game, that passed through my house about 3 a.m. The previous morning or that morning. So it was pretty insane. But
I know
it was a pretty insane storm.
I know whose backyard I'm camping out in next year at the for the combine.
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Hey, you know what? If you're in the area, you better hit me up.
I had credentials last year, but I couldn't go. I couldn't get the weekend off work.
Dang, dude.
Yeah.
Well, that's a dream, man. You get credentialed to get to do something like that, man. That's living a dream.
I'll get your credentials this year. You gotta ask. I guess for both of us. All right,
bro. We're gonna be talking offset about that.
Yeah, I didn't go last year, and we sent someone else, and he was actually 2 years ago that 2 years ago, somebody went in front of me. They were in front of me in the line, and he went viral for asking Caleb Williams a very stupid question.
I know who that person is. I'm very familiar with him. It blew up a group chat, unfortunately. There was a lot of divisive opinions on that, and I was just like, I'm out of this. I'm not.
Me and him don't get along, so I don't exactly hide my disdain for this person, and I like to shovel some dirt on him as often as possible. Back to that Max Crosby. So the official update as per Fantasy Pros, expected to be okay after knee injury. He is expected to be okay after suffering a knee injury and is not seen as a long-term issue. This is great news for the Raiders defense that would be helpless without him. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, nothing else. So it says he's going to miss some time. It doesn't look to be long-term, though. That is good news, although I think Max Crosby is not an actual IDP player that I roster anywhere. And not because I don't like him. It's just because in my smaller family in my smaller family and work leagues for IDP, it's like one or two IDP guys. So I always just wait. In actual, like our expert IDP leagues, I'm never the guy who I'm never the guy who drafts kicker, defense, quarterback first, tight end. I'm never that guy. I just load up on running backs and wide receivers till you force my hand. So I'm never the guy. I may have him in an IDP only league. The the wall from Gary Davenport, but that might be the only one. It's because I had no choice to start with IDP player. I'm typically I don't open the floodgate, so he's always one of the top 3 off the board. I never get Max.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good to hear that it's not long term. Short term injuries, I mean, obviously they suck, but you have hope that he'll be at peak performance in the playoffs. But there's always that little thing inside me that thinks like, oh man, if he's hurt now, he's going to get hurt later. It's going to get worse. He's never going to be 100% again. So how bad in the short term does this hurt? And let's face it, the Raiders are not going to make any noise this year. So when does that start to creep into his head? Like, all right, I'm not going to go out here if I'm not feeling it some of these later weeks, if it's not, healed up fully by the time he comes back.
I'm so sick of injuries already. I was trying to do my rankings Sunday morning to update them on Fantasy Pros, and I hit overall, and it says players with issues, and you click on it, it'll say basically players with injury statuses. There were 43 offensive players alone who had some kind of injury tag going into noon Sunday. It's disgusting. All right, let's head over. Anyone viewing along to Matt's IDP notes from week 7 over on Twitter, X, whatever the hell we're calling it. Starts off with Edge Brian Burns yet again has a monster game with 2 sacks and 4 tackles. Brings his total to 9 sacks in just 7 games played. Burns was reportedly in a walking boot. That was actually going to be the first thing I had to say after, but I see you got that after the game. However, so we need to keep an eye on this. Still, Burns is on a nuclear run and has shown an ability to pop off in a major way. Is there an update here on Roto Baller linebacker Brian Burns, who's an NFL sack leader, wearing a walking boot on his right foot in the locker room after the game? Team's heartbreaking.
I'm pretty sure that's the same site that I got that information from earlier this morning.
Yeah, that's the latest update. So it doesn't look like he's you can run through what you feel about Brian Burns there. I am going to look and see if we have an update maybe on x-rays or something like that. What is it about Brian Burns?
Well, Brian Burns is always going to be a player that can pop off. I was a hater for a little bit. I have now changed my ways. I believe that with edge rushers, we get so enamored with the name because the name is usually attached to huge production in like singular performances. Brian Burns, throughout his career, has had fantastic singular performances, but putting them over the course of a season is very mid. You're never happy with the results you get from the name Brian Burns, but you're very happy to have Brian Burns. This season has been a revelation. I don't know if it's because the Giants just have a new juice with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatabo, and that offense kind of, I mean, for a losing team, having the opportunity to be in these shootout games and are never truly, they don't feel like they can die. And I do think that energy can go up throughout the roster, throughout the team. And I believe that people like a Brian Burns we're starting to see he can shine in those moments. He can be almost like a closer in baseball. I heard Colin Cowherd use that term earlier, where edge rushers are like a closer for your quarterback. And I believe that. I think you have to have defensive players that can pop off and really save a game. And Brian Burns they're not saving games because they're not winning, but Brian Burns is doing his best impression of a Mariano Rivera, where if he's on and he's locked in, there is nothing you can do about it. He's leading the NFL in sacks. He's got 9 through 7. I mean, we're on pace right now. If you want to extrapolate numbers, I feel like 7 weeks is a good sample size, especially considering his consistency. He is pacing for a record year. And I think that needs to be highlighted here. I love and think that Byron Young is the best young edge rusher in the NFL, but it's very, very hard to argue against Brian Burns. And I think that, to me, I just can't get past that prior, okay, when's the other shoe going to drop here for Brian Burns? He cannot sustain this pace. But I didn't think Deron Bland, who we'll talk about later, was going to sustain a pace that he did with pick sixes. So Brian Burns is just incredible. And I think we need to make sure that he's always going to be a set and forget kind of guy. But let's pay attention to the season he is having, because we're about a quarter of the way, just over a quarter of the way, and he's on a record-breaking pace.
Matt Schaff of Draft Sharks has a bit of a write-up here. Though Burns came out at times, he didn't exit the game for good before it ended. He also quotes ESPN's Jordan Ronan. I hope I'm saying that right. Brian Burns, the quote is, Brian Burns leaving the locker room in a boot says, I'm good, it's just precautionary. So hopefully there's nothing more to see here, but I guess we'll see.
Believe the player. You know what I mean? They never lie, especially about injuries.
It's like believing Pete Carroll. All right, moving on. We've got Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds had arguably his best game of the season with 9 tackles, a sack, and an INT. Edmonds has been a very consistent linebacker this season and has now totaled 9+ tackles in 4 straight games, despite being looked at in IDP as the second linebacker behind TJ Edwards. Edmonds has been a quality option at the position and showing no signs of slowing down. I might be crazy, but I always kind of preferred Edmonds. I don't know if it was just I always had more shares of Edmonds at cost, but I just preferred Edmonds. What are your thoughts here on the Tremaine Edmonds status?
Well, I'm with you to a degree. I didn't trust either of them, and I hadn't for a while. And there was no reason not to trust TJ Edwards. He's a fantastic linebacker, but he is one of those guys that it feels like if he gets hurt one time, he's just never the same player. But his ceiling, when he is fully healthy and firing on all cylinders, it's like 13 to 15 tackles. And that is not an outrageous number for him. So Tremaine Edmonds, I think, has kind of not always gotten the best share of tackles because Edwards is just a vacuum out there. But this year we're seeing a bit of a change. I know it's because Edwards did get hurt. So we saw Edmonds kind of go in, but and Edwards is now back. And Edmonds didn't slow down. He had a really good game. Edwards is going to get better. I think it's kind of an easier way into the game type of a situation. I mean, you're not like we saw Kittle last night. Everybody was all pumped up. He came off IR, and it didn't look like he was even in the game. So we're seeing this. They're going to slow play some of these guys back because there are some of these teams, especially in the NFC, which is just a gauntlet this year. The Bears are not out of it. They are in a tough division. But we're seeing signs of life that I don't think anybody thought was there last year. So I don't see them trying to rush these guys back like, hey, all hands on deck, the ship's going down. And Edmonds has been a steady, consistent figure in the middle of their defense, and it is contributing to IDP lineups because of the consistency. He's not making these gigantic plays, although this week he had a big week. He's just been a steady play. And I think a lot of times you got to make sure you just have guys you know are going to contribute. If you could have every single player on your team contribute their floor, chances are you could win these games, so long as you plan for your floors to be where they need to be at crucial positions. And I think that Edmonds helps stabilize linebacker, which is the most important position in IDP.
Edwards has been back for 2 games, and in both games, he's been solid, 9 and 7 tackles, but he's been out-tackled by Edmonds in both games, and Edmonds had the sack in the INT this week to increase his production even more. We've got a 7-0 Lions lead on a Goff to St. Brown touchdown. I may be a bit delayed on the updates because I'm a 3-year-old and I can't have the game on while we stream. Otherwise,
off to who?
I'll just sit here like this and go, oh yeah.
Was it J-Mo?
No, St. Brown. St. Brown.
Okay.
All that matters is it wasn't Gibbs. Anybody? I'm scrolling. No, not Gibbs. Don't care who else it was. Not Gibbs.
What part of the family tree is he on since you're St. Denis?
Yeah. I wish. A long-lost cousin. Give me some money. All right, moving on. Where was the tab here? Okay. Linebacker Quay Walker is not someone I've been hyping up this season, but he deserves praise. After this week's 9-tackle, 1.5 sack performance, he now has 59 total tackles in just 6 games played. Despite healthy competition from Edger and Cooper, who I love, Walker still remains Walker still remains an excellent option for managers in IDP. The best part, he's still just 25. I wish I could get through reading a paragraph without going, it's that time of the year. What do you think here about Quay and Cooper?
Well, on my pod last week, I spoke to, I'm blanking on his name. I feel so bad. We talked about Quay Walker and Edrin Cooper, and we were talking about not that we thought Quay Walker was going to be bad, but we felt as though that as Edrin Cooper got better in this system and had more familiarity, and as the Packers kind of grew, we would see the splits kind of even out, the scales. And while we have seen Edrin Cooper make that leap, Quay Walker has not dipped at all. And quite frankly, I think that these two are arguably the best inside linebacker duo in all of IDP. And I believe that both of them are top 10 dynasty linebackers. And they're both 25 or under. looked up Quay Walker's age today just to kind of look around. I was like, all right. And it kind of blew my mind that I didn't realize he was only 25. We're talking Quay Walker. They can have this duo if they can pay him. They could have this duo for 6 to 8 years, depending on how the cap situation works. And I think that if they learned anything from their NFC rivals, the 49ers, when you have two, you can never have too many, because we saw Fred Warner is down for the year, and they let Dre Greenlaw go to the Broncos this year. So now we're seeing Tatum Batoon and D. Winters man a defense that's been underwhelming, I guess is maybe the word. So I think we could see teams go to more of a traditional two stable inside linebackers, kind of like the Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks of the Legion of Boom, or when the Bengals for the longest time had Jermaine Pratt and Logan Wilson. Both of them were productive. Now, the play wasn't exactly good, and we've seen both are now gone. But the reality is, if you can get stability at these positions, I feel like I always preach it. The NFL is just about minimizing the losses. You're going to lose things. You're going to lose yards. You're going to lose games. You're going to lose players. You have to be able to stabilize these things in the NFL to play the game effectively. And I think part of stabilizing your defense is getting an incredible middle of the field, taking away the tight ends, taking away those short routes, and getting it with smart players. And Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper both are talented, smart players that are young. We're seeing a Packers defense grow. Micah Parsons is going to get all the headlines, and rightfully so. He had a fantastic week. But at the same time, they have got two inside linebackers right now that are dominating the middle of the field, and they're showing no signs of weakness.
The other thing I was going to mention, don't feel too bad about the forgetting your guest's name. So my first, it happens to me all the time. It happened to me actually, our first shows, because I had 3 shows in a day and a half with 3 different people, and I couldn't remember who was my co-host because I had new co-hosts for everything, new company. But my first fantasy football expo, I arrived the Thursday night before, so there's not many people here. So we had a group chat, like one of the large expo group chats that said, hey, there's a party at the DoubleTree with whatever group of people that had arrived. So the first person that I met in person at the expo from the community was lawyer Drew Davenport. Walk up to him, say, hey, blah, 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 how's it going? Shake his hand. Hey, I'm Drew Davenport. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Drew, you were on my fucking podcast last night. I know who you are.
Yikes. Yikes, getting big timed.
Yeah. It's like, Drew, you were on my show last night.
Hey, don't worry, brother. I got big time too. I got big time too at the DoubleTree this year, so don't worry.
Did you? Oh, I didn't go this year. I didn't get to go this year. I couldn't get out of work. I had one, and now we're going to get into expo stories. I had messaged back and forth with Debro from Fantasy Pros a few times, and I messaged him and I said, hey, I'm at the DoubleTree, blah, blah, blah. And he said, okay, cool. Blah. So I met him. We must have drank together for 2 hours or whatever. I get a text message, maybe 3:00 in the morning. Hey, dude, just got out of the shower and I seen your message now. Sorry, wish we could have met up maybe tomorrow. I'm like, Derek, I've been drinking with you the last 3 hours.
Well, you know what? Maybe the libations had a little bit to do with that one.
Absolutely. We do have a question here. Oh, that font is hard on the eyes. Hey, guys, great fan of the pod. Thank you. With the forearm fracture to Divine Diablo. I hate that. That's terrible. Do you trust JT Bertrand to be the guy to own in Atlanta? I will let you start off here.
Well, Cashew Sports Cards, I don't know. I think that JD Bertrand's got an opportunity. And half of this game is just having the opportunity. I'm a big Diablo guy, but I've been so wrong on him that I finally gave up. And what does he do? He makes a living in Atlanta, taking away from my other love, Caden Ellis. I think that Bertrand's got the opportunity. I actually am probably going to lean more towards Caden Ellis just picking up more. Not that Bertrand can't do it, but I think that Diablo's kind of cannibalized those tackles. So we're going to see Caden Ellis have a better opportunity against a not as proven player in Bertrand. So I think the player to own in Atlanta is Caden Ellis, and I still think it's Caden Ellis, but Bertrand's a great guy to stash on the bench and maybe have a spot start. And who knows? I mean, Atlanta's given us plenty of quality linebackers over the years, dating back to the Foye Alucon emergence. So I think that they're a great system to have a linebacker in.
I feel like
and full disclosure, I think that's my brother. Cashew Sports Cards. My brother does sports cards, and he likes to call himself the Big Cashew. So I think that was tongue in cheek.
I feel like everywhere Diablo goes, he's the bridesmaid, never the bride. I too, as I'm looking through things here, is it him?
Yeah, it is. He just
Sorry.
has.
I think I agree. I think it's Caden Ellis for me, 100%. That's too funny. I get my cousin all the time. He'll text me Sunday morning with a start sit question. I'm going, hey, don't have time to look over this right now. Pop into the chat and message it. And then they're like, someone will come up in the chat and they're like, why does this guy seem to know you? And I'm like, it's my cousin. It's just, why is the question only directed towards Aaron? And it's like, it's my cousin. I told him I couldn't answer it. I needed to go on my computers. Oh, I've got a bug.
I read the question and I was like, oh, I love Divine Diablo. And I've also kind of liked JD Bertrand. And then I looked at the username and I was like, this is such a bait question. This is bait. He knew it. And I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker.
All right, let's move on to some craziness. I don't normally ever want to talk corners in IDP. Well, that's fair. Except for one of my two Gary Davenport leagues. I can't remember what it was, but Gary basically has turned his IDP leagues into the DB equivalent of Superflex, where the DBs just get so many points that they're actually relevant. So,
yeah.
Sorry, let me continue.
Mekhi Blackman right now is my guy.
No, you know who was for me this season, and I was crushing it through 4 or 5 weeks, but he sucked the last few weeks. It was Caillou Blue Kelly, and he was great, and he was producing well. And every time you went in, Sleeper had him projected at 0 on the week for some reason, so nobody ever added him, and I don't know why. It was a Sleeper glitch, but
hey, the only Caillou I trust is the kids show.
Jesus. But Deron Bland forced my hand. He scored yet another touchdown. What was it? 3 years ago where he had what? Six in a row?
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, 5 or 6 in one season, which was obviously the record for the season. Yeah. And then last week, he just broke the NFL record.
Well, he scores yet another touchdown off an interception, and while I don't expect this to start a trend like we saw in 2023, yeah, it makes me wonder if he's worth throwing into flex spots just for the possibility of a big play. Maybe that's an overthink, but regardless, he's so fun to watch, and he's clearly the best ever when it comes to INT returns. His 6th career pick 6 is the new NFL record. I always said, when you throw the ball in Deron Bland's direction, it's ending in a touchdown. You don't know if he's taking it for a pick 6 or he's getting beat like he stole something. But when they throw it at Deron Bland, somebody's scoring. He's got to be the worst. Yeah. He can't stop anyone. He's either going to give up a touchdown or he's going to score a touchdown. There's no in between.
I know he's got the record for pick 6s, but I mean, he's got to be getting close to territory of most defensive touchdowns ever. I mean, 6, that's quite a bit. We're starting to get into the big names. So I'd be curious. I haven't looked that one up, but I'd be curious to see if he's in the top 5.
He's the defensive or IDP equivalent of, like, I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. They've got 5 or 6 players where when they step up to the plate, they're either going deep or they're striking out. That's Deron Bland.
We had Adam Dunn for the Reds. Adam Dunn, that was who we had.
So what do you think about Deron Bland?
I just love a good story. I love a good sports story.
Did you lose me?
Yes. I lost you for a second, but I think we're back now. So I just love a good sports story with Deron Bland, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're watching history. It goes back to the Brian Burns discussion we had earlier. You just have to enjoy elite play when you see it. And I'm kind of with you. He's obviously not going to be one of those corners that's like a Richard Sherman or I'm forgetting his name, Daryl Revis. He's not going to be talked about in the levels that those players are being talked about. But what he is doing is something that we have not seen and the NFL has not seen, because he just broke the record and he has an opportunity to really add on to that. And I think when you're talking DBs, I'm with you. If you're in a league that rewards DBs, like, you're probably not going to play him just because you're going to play the more stable options. But if you're in an IDP league that does flexes, or you need a 1-week starter and you just don't really trust anybody that you're seeing on waivers, he's the perfect guy to throw in, because you're not expecting a lot of points anyway because your top guy's down on a bye week or an injury or whatever. And if he pops off of one of these, that's a week winner. And he's had 6 week winners in his career, more than anyone ever. And that's, I mean, what's not to love about having an opportunity for a guy who's probably on your waivers?
The top 2 all-time in defensive scoop and score, pick six. So defensive touchdowns, 12 is the record, 11 is second. Both the number 1 and the number 2 have the same last name. That will be the hint. They are not related.
Okay.
They have the same last name.
Related.
And I believe the first one was retired. What?
Is it? I'm going with Dick Lane. Night Train Lane.
No. The second one is my favorite NFL player of all time and was a Michigan Heisman winner.
Oh, Charles Woodson. Okay, Darren and Charles?
At number 2. At number 2. And number 1 is?
Darren Woodson?
No, Rod
Woodson. Yeah.
Rod and Charles.
Makes sense. Wow, I wasn't even close. So he's not even got halfway there. Oh, so he's not GOAT.
Yeah. Well, he could be there by 5 more weeks. So,
yeah,
all right.
No kidding.
Defensive tackle Derek Brown was the most dominant interior defensive lineman in IDP this weekend. He had season highs in tackles 7, sacks 2, and defended passes 3 this week. He's the best player on this defense, and while the consistency isn't always there for IDP, there are a few players that you would want at this spot on your roster than Brown. I cannot get through a sentence without feeling like I'm going to have to sneeze. Sorry. Back to Derek Brown. We're struggling through this, man.
Hey, Derek Brown plays defensive tackle, and if you play IDP, you know that defensive tackles are not sexy at all, and a lot of times you try to avoid them unless you're forced to play them in leagues that are true position. Derek Brown is one of the more positive options you can play at that position. He's just flat out one of the better players at the position, but that position is not known for consistency. Very rarely are you getting an Aaron Donald in there. You have 3 to 5 guys at that position every year that are good. And then you have to kind of pick up the pieces elsewhere. I mean, you have the Quinnen Williams of the world. We're like, yeah, he's got a great name, but he will go through 3 or 4 weeks, just nothing, that you feel like it's over, and then he'll pop off. So that's the position as a whole. And Derek Brown getting defended passes is kind of what clued me in, because I said season high on purpose, because this is not an outlier game. He does this, and that adds to his value at the position. He has the ability to affect the passing game, not only getting the tackles. And if he can do something to kind of subsidize those points that he doesn't get if he's not getting tackles or TFLs, a defended pass, I'll take that. I'll take that every time. I'll look at that as a tackle. So that's kind of why I felt it was important to kind of point those numbers out, is because obviously sacks and tackles, yeah, we love that, especially from defensive tackle. But if you can get me 1 or 2 defended passes every couple of weeks, that's really going to help with the consistency and raise your point floor, and I'm all about point floors. Yeah,
you're right, though. DT just gets no love. I don't know how many IDP leagues I have, maybe 13, and I can tell you the only two where I think I roster more than one DT is the 2 leagues I'm in with Gary Davenport on MFL, because he forces you to. It's not like on Sleeper where it's, what do they have? DL, DB, linebacker. That's it, right?
Yeah,
3.
right.
You can't. On MFL, you can break it down however the hell you want. So
I love it, man. That's why I love MFL.
I love that about MFL, but we'll stop the love there. Stop the love there. Did you think I forgot Micah Parsons? He finally had a mega game for his new team. 5 tackles and 3 sacks are why we overdraft and overpay for players like Parsons and IDP. If you can figure out the weeks he scores, you'd be a billionaire. Ain't that the truth? But until then, we have to ride these waves of production. Prior to yesterday, Parsons had 11 tackles and 2.5 sacks. What to do with Parsons? When this trade happened, I said it was going to significantly low. Well, I don't know if I said significantly. I said it was going to drop him in my rankings quite a bit. He's still a high-end asset, but it's like, for me, it knocked him out of the first round of IDP drafts for me. But I don't know.
Yeah, Micah Parsons wasn't a first-round player for me for the exact same reasons. He just doesn't do it enough. When he does it, it's all at once. It reminds me of, I think it was Javon Hargrave was at the interior defensive lineman for San Francisco a couple of years ago, where he had like 8 straight games of sacks, but he had no other real stats. He had like 1 or 2 tackles a game, but one of those tackles every week was a sack. And I just kept going. I know this is awesome. I know it keeps happening. It's not going to happen always. Micah Parsons is doing the same level of production without the sacks.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of last year. Nick Westbrook-Akine, where he literally was scoring a touchdown a game with nothing else. It was nothing. It was just a touchdown a game.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting with Micah Parsons. Is you're going to get sacks. It's going to look awesome. He's going to talk about it on his podcast. He's one of us, right? But it's not enough for me to want to push my chips in the middle and say, okay, I'm a Micah Parsons away from winning my IDP league, because I believe he can kind of give you that exact opposite return. You could really go in and it could burn you, especially in weeks when you need it. And I believe it was last season. Don't quote me on this, but last season, I believe through the fantasy playoffs, he did not record a sack, and he had very minimal tackles. So that's the type of player that I do not want to have on my roster, but I can't be a hater. The dude had 3 sacks in a prime spot. He was drafted to this team, or not drafted, but traded for and acquired by this team, so that way he could do this when they needed it the most. And I think he kind of bailed out what was a lackluster performance all around by the Packers. And that's all they needed. They just need him to perform and basically steal 2 to 3 games a year. And if he can do that, and the offense can just kind of play with what they're playing, and we talked about the beauty of their linebackers, they've got a complete team. They do not need him to be Micah Parsons, 50 tackles, 17 sacks. He's not going to be that guy. But he can be 10 to 12 sacks, 25 to 30 tackles. It just depends on where you're getting those tackles and that production. And I just don't have the stomach to do that over the course of 17, 18 weeks.
You a baseball fan at all? I got something else going on
yeah.
Twitter here. Toronto Blue Jays star Vladimir Guerrero Jr. pulled up to Game 7 rocking a Toronto Maple Leafs Austin Matthews jersey. The Leafs are 0-7 in Game 7s over the last 20 years. Why the hell would he do that? Does he not know what city he's in?
He's breaking the curse.
It's blowing up. Everyone's saying, "Oh, clearly that we might as well just hammer the Mariners today." What an idiot!
You're boned. Mariners by 10.
Oh my Lord, that's
this
brutal.
is gambling
All right,
advice.
we got one more for you, and then we'll wrap it up on a sick, shortened show. We got some baseball. We've got some football games on Monday Night Doubleheader. We got a lot going on. So close it out with DeForest Buckner. Also had a great game from the interior defensive line in the Colts' domination of the Chargers. The Colts, I don't even know where to begin with them, but okay. He had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, bringing his total to 36 tackles and 3 sacks. He has a wonderful upcoming schedule for IDP with games against the Titans, Steelers, and Falcons before his bye. All 3 teams are in the bottom third in the NFL defending against his position. And because I'm OCD, you know what I grasped out of reading that entire paragraph? It's that you capitalized Steelers but didn't capitalize Titans or Falcons, and it drove me nuts.
Well,
do you have anything of value to
really
contribute?
the only football. They're the only football team mentioned was the Steelers. The rest, the Titans and the Falcons, are just kind of hanging out.
That's fair.
In all seriousness, I knew you were going to say something about the grammar or something. That's hilarious.
Well, I edit for a living, so.
Everybody knows that DeForest Buckner is one of the best in the game. All right, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know with him. If you have him, you're starting him. But it goes back to the defensive tackle argument where there's like 4 to 5 guys in the entire league. DeForest Buckner is one of them. This is an example of one you have to have. We're through 7 weeks. He's got 36 tackles. He's not getting the most sacks, but the tackle floor right there you can live with. And he is never going to come off the field. You know that. He's a focal point of this defense, and we are seeing them perform at a very high level. They are beating teams. I live in Indy. We were just talking about that. There is nothing that anybody could have said before the season to even remotely reflect what we are seeing right now. The fan base is pumped. The city is reinvigorated. You would think Danny Dimes is Peyton Manning with the way the Colts are being talked about around here. But DeForest Buckner has been a focal point of this defense, even in the doldrums when the Andrew Luck drama happened. And then we were trying to piecemeal Phillip Rivers. And then there was a Carson Wentz. And then there was Jacoby Brissett. I mean, we've had all kinds of instability. But the one stable force in the middle of this defense and has performed at an all-pro level multiple times and has been a high-level IDP asset is DeForest Buckner, and this is why. You are getting consistency. You have the ability to get the big play, but you know that this is a player that will not lose you weeks, and that is just as important as a player who will win you a week.
Lions have the ball here. You might be ahead of me, right? Is it 4th down for the Lions still?
Yes, I actually know what happens too. I'm going to predict that Isaac Tesla gets overthrown
Oh, awesome. As long as Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't score points. Those uniforms for the Lions are awesome. I love those black third jerseys with the blue helmets, but
Oh, I got a hot take for you. I actually think that the
my
black
God,
jerseys take away.
Isaac Tesla just got overthrown. You must be a witch.
I am a prophet. I am
Sorry,
but a
continue.
conduit for the universe.
What were you
Black
saying?
uniforms take away from the majesty that is team colors. I love the color black. I know it's so in, it's so cool. It makes you slim. But the NFL is a colorful sport. We had creamsicle jerseys in the Houston Oilers style baby blues. That is a uniform. Anybody can freaking wear black. Black is not a uniform. Black is an alternate color for damn near all of these teams.
No.
So Detroit Lions, they have that Hawaii. What's it called?
Honolulu blue.
You got the Honolulu. That's a cool name. You don't even have to call it blue.
I don't want to see it every week. I'm a big fan of like 40. I like the whites for home, the blues for away. I like the black one that you wear on Thanksgiving or something as an alternate, or even the gray.
Yeah.
But then
special events.
I like the color ones too. I loved the Thursday night color rush jerseys. Those were great. I think you wear. I think it should always be like this. You wear the white and the blue for your home and away on normal games. Thursday night, you do color rush. Monday night football, you've got to wear, and Sunday night football or Thursday, whatever, for your other primetime games, you wear an alternate, I think. I would say you either wear so the Lions wear the gray or the black. I think you wear the traditional ones in your 1 or 4 o'clock Sunday game.
Well, would you like oatmeal for breakfast? No flavorings, no sugar, just bland. Is your favorite color beige?
No. I like beige. Did you say beige? Jesus Christ. No, I like the color rush ones, but all right. Well, I think that brings us mercifully to an end because I'm going to go NyQuil myself now before my next show at 8:30 for kickoff of the next one. That would be Last Call with me and Greg. For Aaron and Matt, thank you for checking in on week 7 of the IDP Underground here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. We will be back next week, and I should check this before I go to leave, but I never think to look. What's next week's game? It is the Monday Nighter will be only one of them. It's Commanders and Chiefs. Great. We get to see the refs win on Monday Night Football again. Awesome. All right. Well, we will see you next Monday at 7. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.